Hi there, Gemini. Welcome to your end of September 2025 general tarot reading update. It's Serena here. Let me just shuffle the cards a little bit more back here. I do it behind the camera because this is what my method of shuffling is. I have resigned myself to the fact that I will probably in this lifetime never learn how to do it the proper way. I remember as a kid, in the 70s, it was very popular to play card games, and I always tried to shuffle cards and they'd fly across the room. So I'm still at it. I have October readings, astrological readings up on my channel if you're interested in astrology, so please check that out. And September, I'm recording this on the 12th, so there still is a lot of September left. I'm going to pick an additional card. Okay. The heart of the matter is I just noticed that it's all bent now. The Wheel of Fortune, which this deck is faithful to Rider-Waite, but it has its own, updates, if you want to call them, which is like pretty much erasing men, which I'm not really fond of because that's not very balanced. But I love the artwork. I really do. I love the colors. I love everything. So I do connect with these cards, but I acknowledge that I'm not too thrilled that, because it was male-centric in the other deck. But now it's like you go from one extreme to the other. Now you notice the sign of Leo right there. But this card is actually connected to Jupiter, which is a ruler of Sagittarius. And this depiction of the Wheel of Fortune is the same type of imagery that you will find on the Rider-Waite, which is basically one person on top of the wheel and another at the bottom. And this is meant to illustrate that life is, like when we talk about wheels, we're talking about cycles. And that sometimes you feel like you're on top of the world, and then sometimes you feel like everything is misaligned. And so I look at, because the Wheel of Fortune can be a card of luck, and I see it as alignment, whether you feel aligned or you don't. And sometimes you do, and then, all of a sudden you go out of it for some reason. And it's really in those moments when you feel misaligned that you have the choice of either, identifying with that or kind of like extracting something good from it. And I also, I want to make it known that I do have a second channel because I haven't been posting there recently, but I still intend to. I'm still kind of getting everything sorted out. And that's called Tarot Alchemy with Rain and Moon. And that one is going to focus predominantly on relationship readings or, just love readings in general. And when I got this card, it kind of jogged my memory to let you know about that. But this could be related to relationships because I see some themes with this, where this is a card, the Two of Cups in the past position is a card of either commitment, it can be reconnecting with someone romantically, or even forgiveness. And so there's this feeling of unity, maybe like you commit to a partner, and then what do we have here? Page of Swords, watching your back. This is the spy card. This is the person who orders a private investigator on their spouse because they suspect that they're cheating. So you're going from one to the other, and the Wheel of Fortune is right in the middle. And sometimes people, it's like that happens to them, and it becomes like a feeling of the dominoes falling because they identify with that circumstance instead of, and even blame themselves for that circumstance instead of seeing it as part of the play. I was going to say the drama of life, but I don't want to emphasize drama. I'm just saying like life as being this grand play that I think it can be sometimes. And how does that how does that make you feel? Can you put things in perspective, or does it become this calamity? I also think with the Two of Cups that with Gemini, because you are this dual sign, I wonder if this is like a Pisces individual. The cards, I don't know about all of them, but I know that a lot of them correspond to actual signs or planets, like in the case of the Wheel of Fortune. And I would think like something like Pisces could be the Two of Cups. But the point is that if you have fallen in love with someone who is a Pisces, and time has, and things have changed, times have changed, people have changed, and now you're in this place of not trusting the situation, then that may be the current state of affairs. What crosses you is the Knight of Swords, and this is a card of even like life changes, like life changing very rapidly. And this can be like, things are not how they used to be. So it affects, in some cases, it affects relationships. And it's weird to talk about this with Gemini people, but if your sun is in Gemini, you might have Venus in Cancer, you might have Mars in Cancer, you might have an inner planet, you might have a moon sign that's in water, and you are more emotionally attached in relationships. If you know what I mean, just by talking about Gemini, you might be the one that's kind of fickle, that can go from one thing to the next because you're looking for novelty. But that's not going to be. That's kind of like, you could call it a stereotype, but I would call it an archetype of what Gemini is. But it's not the full picture when you look at the full astrology. And what's coming in is the Queen of Wands. This is really about stepping into your power, but from the emotional place, not like the King of Wands. I would see more out in the world and, your career and all that stuff. But this is kind of like, to me, the internal. The Queen can represent the water element. So it's emotionally stepping into your power. How, and there's confidence that's associated with this. The sun is represented here, even though it's supposedly Sagittarius, and Leo is the royalty and ruled by the sun, but whatever, I digress. I always say that whenever I get the Queen of Wands, because it's like, I'm like, why is this not Leo? But yeah, this is supposed to be Sagittarius. And one thing about Sagittarius is that it's a very philosophical sign. And the being philosophical isn't just to kind of trick your brain into accepting something that sucks. It's about really the bigger picture. And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and the Wheel of Fortune is a central theme here. So it's really about any kind of situation that seems to have gone south. Also, I think with this is not realizing maybe your own need for freedom, and maybe being in a situation that felt very confining. Um, it's one of those things where you can feel disappointment. This is the outcome card. That's why I don't end on this card, because it's not very inspiring to talk about something like disappointment or grieving the loss of something. But it is what it is, right? I mean, if you're feeling these feelings, it's okay to acknowledge that and to embrace whatever comes as a result of that. And air signs like Gemini can get very abstract in their feelings, and analyze how they feel, but not really, and articulate it, but not really have that gut punch. And sometimes having that gut punch makes you realize that, yes, this did matter. I really love this person. And I'm sorry that it didn't work out. And I'm hurting right now. I picked a clarification card and I got the Hermit. This is about seeking the inner truth, the inner light, soul searching. If, for instance, this is anything to do with your professional life, you may have found that the tide turned. Maybe like at one time you were joining forces and there was this feeling of unity, and then you felt a sense of betrayal, or just like you couldn't trust, or maybe it was just kind of like it's the type of work that there are large fluctuations. And for a Gemini person, it can be perfect because you can kind of surf the tide, but maybe it was like surfing a tidal wave and it was too much. So going within can help you to clarify what it is that you truly want out of a relationship, out of a career, and doing so without feeling like you've lost, like there's some great loss. Because Five of Cups, there are two cups that are upright, and they always talk about the person has their back to those cups, as if they are turning their back on the silver lining. And actually, even though there are less cups up than down, the silver lining to me is everything. It's all about the nugget or the lesson to be learned from that situation. Because let's face it, life is a series of events that don't necessarily have the ability to sustain themselves. We don't have any guarantees. I mean, life itself, the physical life, is temporary. So we do have to view things with that in mind. And the Hermit card is all about solitude. Gemini loves social interaction, but really tuning into yourself, not other people's opinions of your situation or what the world would do. The Hermit, that's why the Hermit is alone, because they're trying to tune out the influences from the world. All right, that's what I have for you, Gemini. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, I do astrology, I do the tarot. I have packages where I do both for a discounted price, and I do love readings, career readings. You can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for watching. Bye.